Are you getting frozen eggs this time of year out of your hutch and you're wondering, are they still good for anything? That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Hey guys, welcome back to another Slightly Redneck video. Again, my name is Chris. If you're not familiar with this channel, I help you to produce your own meat, eggs, and vegetables from your backyard, your balcony, your deck, your garage, or even a spare room in your house if that's the way you want to do it. Today we're talking about eggs, freezing eggs. What do you do with your freezing eggs? This time of year in Missouri, it's week before Christmas right now, so it gets pretty cold. We've been down in the 20s at night. When I come out here, the water is frozen up, everything is frozen up, and I'm collecting eggs out of the hutch that appear to be frozen eggs. What do you do with them? Are they still good to eat? Are they still good to incubate? Let's talk about eating first of all. Now, the USDA suggests that if your eggs freeze and they crack, you should discard them. And that's really because if an egg cracks, it opens it up to bacteria. Bacteria can get in the egg, especially if you're collecting fresh eggs from your coop. I mean, there's lots of bacteria going around there. If the egg cracks, bacteria is introduced into it, and it's probably going to go bad. It probably is best practice to go ahead and throw them out if the eggs do crack. They say that if they don't crack, you should go ahead and keep them frozen. Put them in the refrigerator to thaw when you're ready to use them, and then you can go ahead and use them. They are still edible, but it does change the consistency of the egg if it gets frozen. So it's probably not going to be the best for like frying an egg. The yolk tends to get a little bit syrupy and kind of weird when you freeze an egg. You probably want to use it maybe as a scrambled egg at that point, or hard-boiled, or you could put them in baking, you know, those kinds of things. It's not necessarily going to be the same exact kind of egg that you're used to. It may not be the highest quality, but it is still edible, so you can go ahead and eat it. Now, will it hatch? If the egg gets completely frozen, odds are it's probably not going to hatch. You're going to have a very low likelihood of that egg hatching if it's completely frozen. But with that being said, when I'm coming out to collect eggs in the morning, you know, a lot of times it's 20 degrees. These eggs got laid in the evening. I'm coming out here in the morning. You know, they've been out in that 20-degree weather for 12 hours, and I pull them out of the hutch, assume they're frozen, but I've dropped one before, I had it break open and been just perfectly fine. It wasn't frozen. So, you know, just because it's in a 20-degree environment doesn't necessarily mean that it is a frozen egg. So unless you know for sure that that egg was completely frozen solid all the way through, chances are the egg's going to break, the shell is going to crack if that happens. So chances are if the eggshell didn't crack, it's probably going to be okay to go ahead and try to incubate. Now, will your hatch rates be as good as they would be if you were to treat the eggs perfectly, you know, like you would normally treat them? Maybe, maybe not. It's kind of hard to say for sure. I had a viewer ask me recently if, you know, they said they had some eggs delivered. They weren't notified that they were delivered. They sat out on their porch in 1-degree weather all day long. Are they still viable? You know, there's no way for me to know for sure because we really don't know exactly how long they sat there, what temperature they actually reached. Did they freeze all the way through? Did they not? We don't know any of those details for sure. Just because they were in that 1-degree temperature, it takes a while for that box to cool down. It takes a long time for the eggs to cool down and for them to actually freeze. So we don't know. What I would suggest in that situation is go ahead and incubate them. Unless you've got other eggs that you know are more viable and you know you have a better chance of hatching, why not? Go ahead and try to incubate these, see if you get a hatch out of them. The ideal temperature to store quail eggs is about 50 degrees to 70 degrees, somewhere in that range. But you know, there's plenty of people that have stored quail eggs in the refrigerator at 35 degrees and then hatched them out and got great hatch rates out of it. So it just goes to show there's not necessarily a hard, fast rule that says, well, once they reach 35 degrees, they're no longer good. No, go ahead and try. It may impact your hatch rate a little bit. You may not get the best hatch rate out of it, but you're probably still going to get a pretty decent hatch as long as the eggs didn't freeze all the way through. And that can be deceptive because like I said, when I'm collecting eggs out here, everything is frozen, but somehow these eggs don't seem to be frozen. Now, I don't necessarily follow the USDA's advice. If I have an egg that looks like it's frozen, it's probably frozen, and it hasn't cracked the eggshell, I just put it in the refrigerator and let it thaw out, and I treat it like any other egg. Never had too many problems with that at all. Occasionally, I will get an egg when I crack it open. It looks weird. Like I said, the yolk is a little bit kind of jello-y, kind of gooey, kind of weird. It just doesn't look right, and I end up throwing that egg out because I don't really, you know, if in doubt, throw it out kind of thing. But I don't keep my eggs frozen if the eggshell hasn't hatched, you know. They like the USDA suggests, if it cracks, throw it out. If it doesn't crack, keep it frozen until you're ready to use it and then thaw it out in the refrigerator. I don't do that. If they crack, If I collect an egg from the hutch and it's cracked, it gets thrown out. If it's not cracked, it gets put in the refrigerator, whether it's frozen or not frozen, and then we use it whenever we're ready to use it. That's kind of the way that we do it. Never had any problems with that. If you're in doubt when you go to open that egg up, if it looks weird, seems odd, just throw it away. It's no loss. Okay, so again, when it comes to incubating your eggs, yeah, you're probably going to get better hatch rates out of eggs that you're collecting when, you know, they don't get down below, say, 40 degrees, somewhere around in there. You're probably going to get better hatch rates out of that. But that doesn't mean if you're collecting eggs in freezing temperatures that you're not going to get anything to hatch out of it. And so unless you've got other eggs around, go ahead and try. Go ahead and try to incubate them, see how they do, because there's a good chance that they didn't get all that cold. So don't just make that assumption. Go ahead and try. There's no harm in trying. That's my advice for you, that if you got eggs delivered to you, it was super cold outside, you're wondering, did they make it or not? Give it a try and see. I mean, that's the best thing you can do. There's no way to know for sure ahead of time to say, well, it was 35 degrees outside, they sat outside for 3 hours, they're no good. Don't make that assumption at all. Just go ahead and try to incubate them. You may get one of the best hatch rates you've ever gotten. So anyway, this is a pretty short, quick video just to address that topic. It's come up a few times in questions. So hopefully you got the information you were looking for. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, God bless.